Hello, everybody. You may see this sign here with a few words on it: happiness, purpose, fulfillment. Those are things I think we as human beings are always seeking in our life. Like that we want to be happy and to be good. One thing I was pondering, is if you go to a bookstore, I, by the way, love bookstores. I think shopping for books is kind of like shopping for shoes for some people. I can just go to a bookstore and spend hours in there and not even buy anything. One thing I notice in bookstores is, of course, there's an ever growing self help section. Out there, there's a lot of books on self help, on um, how to live a life of meaning and happiness and fulfillment and all these things. And not that these things are necessarily bad. I think there's modern self help and modern psychology that has a lot to say about it. One thing I've been thinking, here's the thing, is that sometimes we don't always talk about it. Like in school, we learn about skills and how to do things. We learn math and science and all this stuff, but we've lost the sense in the ancient idea of education. We sometimes don't always think about learning about how to be a human, fulfilling a human person. And so I think many people look for that in these self-help modern psychology. And like I said, it's not bad, and I think there's good things. But here's the thing: I think we as Christians in Christianity, especially in Catholic Christianity, we have this tremendous heritage, this tradition of ancient wisdom that has been passed down to us. And I think modern people have seemed to have forgotten. And I think in this tradition that's been passed down to us, there is a tremendous wisdom in the study of the human heart and soul, about what it means to be human in our pursuit of happiness and meaning and fulfillment. There's this rich wisdom passed down to us. For example, a piece of it is we have the great monastic tradition, the wisdom of the monks. And some people in modern day tend to sort of scoff at monks sometimes. What do they know? They're not in the world. And they kind of run away from the troubles of the world just so they can live a peaceful, happy life. I think that's an overly simplistic, naive view of monasticism. See, the richness of the monastic tradition, the monks, as some of us may be experiencing at some levels, when you cut away all our distractions and busyness, then all of a sudden you have this sometimes terrifying encounter, this heroic struggle with your own human soul. All of a sudden, all your existential insecurities, those questions of who I am, what is my purpose, what am I doing here, how do I find happiness, especially when I cut away all these distractions. It's easy to ignore all that when we just throw ourselves in busyness. So the monks, they may not have spouse and kids and job, but the monastic tradition, throughout the ages, we've had these men and women, these monks who have had the time and space to heroically face those deep inner workings of the human heart and soul. And so through those meditations, while there's certainly, well, we certainly all as people are all different people, individuals, and personalities, that there are some common traits of the human heart and soul. And I think in drawing those out, they give us a great wisdom of what it is to be human, how to live well, how to live and move in the world and find happiness and fulfillment and meaning and purpose, how to orient ourselves rightly in the world, especially how to be a good person, how to be a force of good in the world. So that's a great wisdom. And like I said, even though we're all different people, there are some common traits, just like, there's all sorts of different diet plans out there because we have different bodies and different lifestyles, but there are some commonalities. Like generally, if you eat a bunch of pie and ice cream or McDonald's French fries, it's probably not going to lead to such a healthy body. Or if you drink gasoline, you're probably going to get sick. So there's some generally accepted healthy things. Fruits and vegetables, generally healthy. A balance of proteins and carbs and a healthy balance of that, and so forth. And so it's the same with the human soul. But anyways, as I was saying, all this is how do we orient ourselves rightly in the chaos of the world? See, because as we move through the world, there's sort of a constant battle against chaos, and we have to order ourselves rightly in the world. Just like when we look at society, we want to bring order to society. Because if we live in chaos, if there's no rules or order or anything, if people just drove on whatever sides of the road they wanted, if architects don't build buildings well, they'll fall down and collapse. If doctors don't do a good job, then bad things happen and so forth. That we work to bring order in society, that people have their place so that we can all live well together and not live in warring chaos, but live together harmoniously. And same in human relationships. Similarly related, we have different relationships in society, and we want to live with those in an ordered, balanced way. In families, there's the parents, there's the children, and there's an order that parents have to listen, or children have to listen to their parents. They can't just do whatever they want because they have to learn and grow. So there's order and harmony and purpose. And so, but all this, society, relationships, families, it all goes down also to the order of the human soul. Because you could have the best order, the most perfect government, society, so on and so forth. But if the people within the system are disordered, broken, it doesn't matter how good your government is or your governmental philosophy, it's going to be disorder and chaos. So it starts with this finding order in our own soul. Our own souls, by the way, and our world are sort of off kilter, are disordered. And that part of the work of God in us that we cooperate with, collaborating with grace as co-creators, is ordering, yes, the world around us, just like Adam and Eve in the garden, working with God to continue to bring order and peace and harmony so that life may flourish. And that also is in our own soul. The ordering of our own soul within ourselves. Because here's the thing, you were made for greatness. To be great-souled is one word, magnanimous, radiant in soul, heroic in goodness and love. And I don't know of anyone, especially of children, who aspires to be a lazy bum who's filled with vices, who's selfish, who's arrogant, or just mean jerks. No one aspires for that. As a kid, what they want to be when they grow up, yeah, they have all sorts of dreams. But ultimately, they want to be something great and good and heroic. That's why we love stories of heroes, people who rose up to be great things. Just look at Marvel superhero movies, or all the rage, some of the highest grossing films. I don't think it's simply because it's cheap entertainment. I think because deep down in our heart, we all aspire for a heroic greatness, to be a force of good in the world, giving our lives to some great cause of good. Because you weren't made for comfort, you were made for greatness. And typically, when people become arrogant jerks or selfish, I don't think people just fall into that. We sort of slowly slide into that. It takes some work and effort. So to come out of that, to become good, we also don't just fall into greatness either. It takes work and effort and focus. So the question then becomes, well, how? How do I live a life of goodness, of heroic goodness, to be great-souled, to live a life of purpose and meaning and happiness? Now, by happiness, by the way, I think it's something more than just something emotional things that we get everything we want, but something deeper. What the Greek philosophers would use the word eudaimonia, which means this kind of idea of being great-souled, of human flourishing in the fullness. And so how do we do this? What's the pathway? And I want to propose to you, and what this video series is going to be about, is part of the pathway to that. It's something we call virtue. That virtue involves the strengthening of soul, God forging something, disciplining and strengthening our soul to live into that greatness that each and every one of you, each and every one of us are called to. This virtue, this orienting ourselves rightly in the world, and virtue gives us that right orientation so that we can live rightly and not just live a life of fulfillment to be satisfied with who we are, with the integrity of who we are as human beings, but also to have an orientation of a movement, a direction, a purpose, meaning, to form ourselves to become someone so we can be happy and joyful and good. So to go, because virtue helps give us that right ordering so everything within our souls works together so it can be a well-oiled machine. Sort of like one analogy is like the inner workings of a car. All these moving parts have to work together smoothly in such a way for it to just run like a dream. Or I mentioned earlier, kind of the idea of diet and exercise. That there's certain things when we give our body the right nutrients, we grow into healthy and the right disciplines, we grow into the right healthy human beings, well balanced. And we can move, and then we actually then have a freedom. The car is more free to run as it's supposed to do what it's meant to when everything within it is working well. That our bodies are able to do more fully what they're supposed to have the freedom to go for a run, to climb a tree, to play games and sports, to run in the woods when we have a healthy body. So virtue is like that for the soul. Healthy diet to give the right ordering, the right inner workings, to move, orient our soul towards that so everything within works well, so that our inner being can be this well-oiled machine. We can live into the freedom that we're supposed to, with the goodness and right, and to be happy. Now, the last thing I want to say with that, so that's what we'll be unpacking over this video series. What is virtue? How does that work? And unpacking, because I just gave sort of the overview picture, and there's probably a lot of questions. Well, how does this work? What are these things? And it's might sound a little strange, Father Kevin. But we're going to be unpacking what is virtue? How does it work within the human soul and heart? Moving towards that, drawing upon this great, rich tradition, this heritage that's been passed to us. But the final thing I want to say, just to be clear that you don't hear what I'm not saying, I'm going to be talking a lot about virtue because I think it's something that's greatly lacking, it seems to me, in our modern day. Some of that conversation of, well, how do I live happy? Because there's these ideas from, let's say, the 60s of, just indulge yourself and that's how you'll be happy. If it feels good, do it. Well, I think if you're real honest, we can see that that doesn't actually bring total happiness. It might, in a fleeting moment, bring happiness temporarily, but not the deep-seated joy and purpose that we ultimately long for. But with that too, though, I do think there are things in modern psychology that can help and contribute to this. And certainly there are conditions people have of diagnosable depression and anxiety that modern medicine can help bring balance within. So I'm not saying this over and against any of that or anything, but I think to supplement, to fill in that, what we need is this conversation about the great Christian heritage of virtue. It's proclaiming that and speaking that to the world. So that's what I want to talk about for this next several videos, is unpacking all of that and what it means. So it's something I've been thinking and praying a lot about, and I'm very excited to talk to you about it. Hopefully you'll join in the journey of this conversation as we go forward. Peace be with you, and God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow with another video.